there will be a few more will be South Carolina voters if people keep on moving down into Rock Hill and all. But Stephen's right. This is in the Panthers, and I'll be very brief. The Panthers' opportunity really shines a light on what we're talking about, and that is where the mayor goes. The mayor was right. People were going back and forth in the paper whether it's good for South Carolina, bad for Charlotte, bad for North Carolina. She said it's good for everybody. And that's right. When people like this, okay, keep going. Short speech.
Hello.
I did think when you have something like that happen, something that brings in money and spends money, and the velocity and the supply of money increases, everything goes up. And it doesn't stop at the border. You can't have a road, a railroad track, anything else. It just stops at the border. And this is what I want to tell you is what I'm sure you've heard before, but I know not from me. And that is what these people that I talk to that come to South Carolina and go to other places as well, Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, and Mississippi. That's where all the action is now. Years ago, I talked to a big law firm, K&L Gates was the name of it, and they just moved into South Carolina. They had an office in Charleston. They might have had a small one in Greenville. But that's a big law firm. Anyone from K&L Gates, it's a huge law firm, have about 2,000 lawyers, and they're all over the world. And so I asked the obvious question, when did you come here, and why did you come to South Carolina? How did that happen? And they said that they'd come just recently. This was in about 2011 I was talking to them. They said that we did 3 big studies, independent studies, to determine where the economic growth was going to be around the world once the recession lifted. 3 independent studies, and every one of them said it's going to be the United States. It's going to be the southeastern United States. And no place had more opportunity and strength than South Carolina when he was telling me the story. And of course, I think that would apply to other states as well. But we got a lot of things cooking in South Carolina that I recommend to you that you may find some way to use them. And that is our port, the Port of Charleston. We're dredging it now. We've gotten the money. We worked hard and got the money. It's interesting. We put up $300 million ourselves and could not get the federal government to give us any more. It wouldn't cost but about that much more to do. We put up $300 million ourselves. But anyway, we're doing it now and getting the federal tax money. And when we're through with that, that port in Charleston will be 52 feet at low tide. It'll go higher than that at high tide, which means that the big ships that are coming through the expanded Panama Canal, now they call them post-Panamax ships, will be able to come in and out of Charleston anytime, 24 hours a day. And if you've seen those things, they're really hard to believe how big they are. You've seen the 20-foot equivalent units, they call those TEUs, where they have a 40-foot unit, that would be, I think it's a little over 40, but that would be 2 TEUs. In any event, they measure it by TEUs. Those big ships can hold 23,000 TEUs on, full of stuff from all over the world. So that's going to be coming into Charleston. One reason that this is interesting up in this area is because I-95, as you know, that's the easternmost interstate highway in the U.S., runs north and south. And that port, we have a rail line. CSX has a rail line. It goes from Charleston. It crosses through Dillon County and crosses 95 and then goes on beyond. What that means is truckers can come in to 95 and drop the load there, and it'll be put on the train and taken down to the Port of Charleston, same thing in reverse. And we have one also just outside of Greer where BMW is. That's where BMW puts their cars on to export them. That is the biggest manufacturing plant that BMW has in the world, in Greer, South Carolina. And you won't believe it, but it's true. They produce a new vehicle, a new BMW in Greer, South Carolina every 61.7 seconds. And we have an inland port there too. So that Norfolk Southern line crosses I-85. So here you have those rail lines coming from the port. Now that's transportation, that's logistics. And now we have 77, which runs right through here. And the great thing is, the rail line in Charlotte. If we can get this rail line from Charlotte all the way down into Rock Hill, downtown, I think it's about 12 miles total. Can you imagine what that'll do for transportation? It'll be wonderful for transportation just in this area, but I like to think of what would be the impact of people seeing how it was done, how it can be done, and how they can do it. Then what would that mean? Because I'll tell you, there's no place prettier in the whole country than the place we are right now. I can claim some authenticity. When I was about to flunk out of high school, my parents decided it'd be wise for me to go to a little school called Patterson School up in Lenore, North Carolina. Anybody ever heard of it? Been in it? It's on the Yadkin Valley, Yadkin River on Happy Valley, and I used to ride up 521. It was the longest trip in the world, I thought, back then. Sometimes we'd ride on the bus, but we'd come through Charlotte, and it wasn't a big city. It was a small place. It seemed to me it had a lot of trains, but more trucks. There's a lot of trucks. But Charlotte has been built on banking. Y'all know the story, trucking, transportation, all of this. And I think if we can build this, and thank goodness for Dave Tepper and the Panthers, you talk about somebody who thinks big. Trey Walker and I, Trey, my chief of staff, is a Charlotte native, by the way. Raise your hands. Right there you go. We met with Mr. Tepper some months ago, and he explained his plan, what he was thinking. And of course, we thought that was a great idea. So we ended up putting together a meeting, and this is how it'll work. I'll finish with this because this is how it works. I think it's collaboration, communication, and cooperation. If you do those things, you can make more progress than you can any other way. So what do we have? Mr. Tepper and his lawyers and others came to the mansion in Columbia, and we had seats around the table. There were 24 seats. We had my Secretary of Transportation, Director of Revenue, Department of Revenue, Department of Insurance, Department of Commerce. Also, we had the President of the Senate, Harvey Peeler. We had the Speaker of the House, Jay Lucas, Chairman of Ways and Means, Merle Smith, the Majority Leader, the Minority Leader. Everybody was there, all sitting around the table. And we asked Mr. Tepper, what is the next thing we need to do? He said, well, one thing is that there's a small advantage that you get if you bring in a new business to a place and you have so many people, then you get a credit for those employees. But it doesn't apply to football players because they don't work 37 and a half hours a week at that place every week. So we'd have to change that. So I looked around and Senator Peeler said, we're introducing it today. And the Speaker said, we introduced it yesterday. And both of those things have already begun their passage and will be law soon. But the point is, we went around the room and listened to Mr. Tepper's vision of what could happen with a practice facility in Rock Hill that would be joined by a medical facility. Atrium is interested. Could be joined by a convention center, retail, hotels, all sorts of things. And if we can put light rail in there, that'll be a model, I think, for the rest of the country. So that's what I'm going to try to do. And that's the end of my story. I got to have to tell y'all a cute story. Since Peggy and I had our 41st anniversary just recently, and I was talking to somebody who'd been married a little bit longer. He said, well, what's your key to a successful marriage? He says, oh, that's simple. He says, every week, 2 nights a week, my wife and I find a nice restaurant to go out and eat dinner. I said, that's good. He said, yeah, she goes on Tuesday and I go on Thursday. Anyway, there's a lot that we can do. I think North Carolina and South Carolina have so much in common. We were brought up right in the same place, under all the same kind of climate and the same kind of people. So we really have a great opportunity, and I think that we are, by nature, as well as nature and nurture, for whatever reason, from wherever we come, I think we work together better than they do in other places. And I'm looking forward to seeing that not only do we introduce light rail, but that we build on this opportunity that Dave Tepper and the Panthers have given us, and keep in mind that there will be many, many more that come along. And if we cooperate, collaborate, and communicate, we can make it happen, and it'll put us just a little bit more ahead of the rest of the country in terms of prosperity for generations. And I thank you very much.